What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Sweat It Out podcast. And today we have a very special segment for you with a very special guest over here. This guy comes a long way, being used to be a client of mine, turned into a great friend. He is an entrepreneur. He is a great business mind. He is a great father. He is the owner and founder of GlobalPro Ventures, and also as well his white concierge services, insurance services company, GlobalPro. Please help us welcome the one and only Daniel Odess.
Well, thanks, guys, for having me on. I'm very special to be here, guys. Appreciate the opportunity.
You are very special.
Yeah, thanks.
Especially when you got the initials on the shirt.
Yeah, is that what it is? Paid extra for that.
So Dan, like I always like to say, for those who don't know about you, tell us a little bit about, how you started and what you do, and, how is it that you were able to grow yourself to the level that you're at today here in Miami?
A lot of questions in there, but I'll try to break them down. How did I get started? I was always looking for an opportunity to open up as many doors as I could. I would say I got started probably at an early age, considering where I'm at today. I grew up in the construction business. So when I was heading off to college, I wanted to find a degree that could open up more and more doors. So I stuck with engineering, got a degree in engineering. While I was getting that engineering degree, I was started to build houses and get more active in the construction industry. When I met my now wife, her father was in the insurance industry. He had been in the insurance industry for almost 25 years at that point. And there was a bit of a downturn. With adversity comes opportunity. And when the downturn occurred, a lot of my fellow colleagues were really Sweat It Out podcast. And I actually saw it as looked at the adversity and said, there's got to be opportunity. And started talking to my late father-in-law about insurance, landed a few expert consulting opportunities to start to investigate things further. Started developing software on the side. I used to program myself. And then come 2012, it was ready for myself to start GlobalPro. I wanted to focus in on business owners, community associations, but with a bigger vision. I always knew that there was going to be life after the insurance service business. I wanted to build a big brand, a brand that represented many different verticals, one of those being tech, with a background in tech, as well as real estate, and with a keen focus on insurance as the backbone of it. How can we leverage our experience, our knowledge in insurance, and tech and real estate, and combine those three disciplines or in industries to not only for investors benefits, but also our own. It just kind of, it really meshed and grew. And as the market came back and started running wild, more and more opportunity presented itself, and we just kept running at it. And I brought on some people smarter than me, obviously, to help us grow our real estate portfolio, to help us launch some technology, some apps. So it was an interesting road to getting here. When I graduated high school, I thought I'd be chasing viruses incidentally. That was my aspiration. So growing up in the construction industry and then seeing the opportunity in the construction industry during college when the boom was occurring, really just like, wait, I can do this. I can do more than this too. And to really set my goals and aspirations really, really high. And just with a lot of, I always say to my team, patience and persistence. A lot of patience, a lot of persistence. Too much of one gets you off in the wrong direction, and misunderstanding where the emphasis needs to be, or what the emphasis is, can disrupt you rather than the industry that you're trying to break into. So, it was an interesting road to getting there, but I think through all of that, I learned so many different things about so many different industries and aspects. And now to kind of bring all that knowledge base together, hire some really smart people around me to help us make decisions.
And that's not an easy thing to do when you have to bring all these things together. I'm sure, again, bringing other people who are smarter than you in many different areas, and bring them together in one, combining these different services that, other companies weren't doing, made you stick out. So what was it that you were doing with the tech and the software of course, as well with your branding and your messaging. What was it that you were doing different? How'd you construct that differently than what other people weren't doing, and how'd you bring that on?
So again, looking into, obviously tech, there's a lot of growth opportunity in tech, particularly right now. A lot of talk about NFTs, blockchains, insurtech particularly is a strong growth area. Insurtech, the word didn't exist 3 years ago. It's now become a highly investable area and a very attractive area for investment. I would say I was very early. In fact, I would say it was probably 2007, 8 when I started actually developing what is now known as insurtech. I actually filed for a patent on an aspect of the program and got into a heck of a patent battle with a company with a heck of a lot more money than me. But again, it was adversity that what was the opportunity to learn from this? Eventually I had to give up on the patent because it was not going to, they had just more money, more resources, more experience than anything else. But I stuck it out and fought through several appeals and everything else. And I was doing it really, I never forget the attorney on the other side is like, is there ever a point where you think you're going to give up? And I had no counsel representing me as pro se. So, and I said, probably not until you stop teaching me something. And I just literally stuck with it and kept, every time they would file something, I would file a response. And it was a heck of a opportunity to learn about the tech space early on in its infancy. And then today, we continue to look for those growth opportunities. And we recently this year launched our first consumer-facing app called Claims Calc. And we hope to launch a second iteration of it. We do have investor interest. We've been doing a couple, doing the circuit on that. And we have other technology that we use internally, Visuals Express, which helps us do a claims management system. Also, we've had several other companies and use it on an enterprise software for us. And then a few other things in the pipeline. So it keeps changing. We keep looking for ways to, again, it's right now a lot of insurtech focused, but we have a couple ideas in the pipeline that are way outside insurance, which I'm pretty excited about.
You said something that was pretty interesting that caught my attention. So while you were going through that legal battle and you were fighting for the patent and the rights, you said that until they stopped teaching you something, right? What were you referring to when you were saying the teaching? Like them teaching you an experience, or them teaching you, this was like a new process for you going through this battle?
Yeah, I was when I was 13, I bought my first computer and almost instantly taught myself how to program. So now I'm, fast forward in my mid-20s, and I'm filing for a patent on tech. So for me, it was a learning opportunity. Like, what does it take to patent and trademark something? And I had an attorney at the time help me file for the trademark and the patent. A bit misguided. He was a small firm and didn't quite have the resources. Certainly oversold himself. But you know what? I'm actually grateful for that opportunity and experience. I mean, a lot of people can take from it that it was a waste of money. It was, a waste of their time. I caught on early that I was likely not going to get the patent. But the reality is that they were giving me so much opportunity to stay in the game. And what they were teaching me is about how do people develop unique ideas, truly unique ideas, and are awarded that patent, which establishes, in other words, the uniqueness, I guess, if you will, of it. It's a one-off, right? That's the idea of the patent, is that you have to be the originator of an idea. And it's like the, a blue check, if you will, for me, before blue checks were a thing, right? For me, it was credibility. It was, get out there. Now I went through that process of the trademarking and with the patenting. Both were contested, by the way, the trademark and the patent work. And again, limited of resources, both time and money, mostly money when it comes to this stuff. And I was actually fighting against probably one of the largest tech companies in the world at the time. They were, I believe they had developed the Google engine.
Are they're still around?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. So And they didn't like the name of the company. And then when they started looking at what I was doing, then they tried to find a reason. And to this day, I actually believe I could have gotten the patent with the right team around me and the right amount of money.
So you think really with the well, kind of you're saying the person who oversold himself, you think if you had that other right person in place, you would have won?
Right. It was right time in the right place, right resources. And you had asked that question about teaching. What did it teach? I mean, it taught me about that process and wanting to be in tech, always having that aspiration to do that, and wanting to be a business owner. I always had a side gig, a side hustle or something. So I always knew that I was going to own a business. Like it was an aspiration. I wanted a team. I wanted a building. I wanted an office. And I have all that now. But those were those goals then. I have bigger goals now and aspirations. But what I learned from that process, I learned so much about business. I learned so much about the legal process, about patents and trademarks, which are all really important to protecting your brand, right? So, and I think it's a lot of young entrepreneurs don't understand that process and think it's going to cost so much money or don't need it. That at any point they can do this or don't need it. And it's odd to me because it's so traditionally it's so important to brands and the protection of the brand. And there's a lot of ways to do it inexpensively now, not then. Back in the day, you had to pay someone to physically go into the Library of Congress and research these marks to see the history of something. And nowadays, it's all the search functions are much easier to do. They're not as antiquated. So. But young entrepreneurs, I totally encourage to look into patenting and trademarking your ideas, and you'd be amazed how trademarking is much more easy to accomplish than copywriting. But the patenting of something is very complicated and very very time consuming.
So being somebody in your mid-20s, having faced that certain level of adversity and having to go through what you went through, can definitely put somebody, can definitely lock somebody in a deep hole where it's like, crap, I failed. How'd you take that failure and turn it into a win to continue to succeed to where you're at today? How were you able to do that?
I looked at it as I had nothing to lose and everything to gain. They had everything to lose if I was able to do to actually achieve the patent and the name. So. That's unique to that opportunity and maybe some others. I felt like I had everything to gain, right, at that point with that idea. But turning that adversity into a win was just, I walked away with all that knowledge, all that experience that I don't think many entrepreneurs would have ever gotten earlier on. I decided to take a leap of faith and invest time and energy in something that probably a lot of people would have advised me not to do. And they would say, "Oh, just go build the widget and then deal with it." I had already built a kind of a working model of what I was trying to patent, because you kind of have to sort out some of the idea. But it really taught me a lot about structure, right? Where it forced me to set goals on what I was trying to accomplish. It forced me to literally detail every aspect of my idea and concept, including business functions and things they were questioning. And I was not a student of business school, right? I was not a student of really any business literature either. That was not my forte. Like I would rather read engineering books or highly technical, complicated things or maybe an autobiography on an inventor or a famous, person or something of interest.
So here's a question for you. I don't mean to stop you, but I always say you got somebody who's obviously you're an entrepreneur now, but there's those skill sets of an artist who's very good at their skill set, very strong at their skill set, and then you got somebody who's very strong at the managerial skills, and then somebody who's very strong at the entrepreneurial stuff. Obviously, you're an entrepreneur, but from those three, what would you say is your strongest? Are you an artist? Are you a manager? Or are you an entrepreneur? Well, it goes back to your strongest power.
I think when I think about the most who I perceive to be the more successful entrepreneurs, I think it's those that have the strongest gut. I don't think it's and I think a lot of it is inside you, and I don't know that a book can teach you how to be an entrepreneur at a level in which I perceive to be successful. And that's not just the richest guy, okay, or woman. I think it really is. It's more of, I look into the ingenuity and the impact it's made on a community, whatever it is that entrepreneur developed and built, and it could be a service or a product, whatever it may be. I think there's many different measures of success and work in strengths, but I think I would say that my strongest suit is being able to do that, and I think a lot of that was, I always grew up with ambitions to do more, right? Always was very involved in my community. I wrote computer programs to help when I was in high school to help run these antiquated computer programs for children with cancer.
Wow.
So they had something to do, right? So like I always had a sense of community. So I look at some of these Forbes billionaires and things like that, and then I look at what they did. I'm like, how did our community benefit from it? And in a lot of cases, they didn't at all. And again, there's just one. It's nice to have money and wealth, and it's important. I think it is because much of it's very difficult to achieve much without it in business. And sometimes you can use your bank account as a scorecard, if you will, in some instances, but it can't be the only measure, right, of success. And there's a lot of people out there, coaches and things like that, that talk like this, but they don't. Sometimes they're not practicing it because they're more focused on their bottom line than anyone else. It's funny, they say it more than they actually do it. But at my companies now is a strong sense of community, and I think the best entrepreneurs are those that have that, and because of that, I think my strength is being an entrepreneur because I have a sense of community, a willingness to teach, a desire to give back, and the realization that there's more than what I'm doing. Right? There's so much more going on in the world, and there's so many things that our business can do to help other businesses and thrive, and I love collaboration. We talk a lot about that.
That's what we're doing here right now.
Yeah, exactly. So like that's why I think that's being an entrepreneur, that to me, and that's why I feel as if I would say that is more my strength.
Love it.
But I think of the traits that you identified. I think that you have to be a bit of all of it. I mean, you have to have,
you definitely do.
You
definitely do.
If you're like comparing it to like, EA Sports, video game, I think you got to be in the 80 or 90 percentile on in all of those to be truly successful, or at least committed to getting there.
Yeah, 100%.
Because maybe you're not there. Maybe you lack something, and maybe someone else can make up for that in your team. So, hey, look, I'm 2 of 3. And you can actually identify talent to fill that third position, I think, and then get that scorecard up there. Then that's what it takes.
Yeah.
Me and Anthony always talk about when building a business and building culture and leadership, the biggest thing is having culture. Because if you don't have the culture of the people in the organization that are bought into your vision, you're not going to get that far. So what's like a tip or an idea or maybe an example of you've been able to cultivate these businesses that you've had from scratch and building a team? How do you create these leaders to step up to the plate and to run these organizations and to back you up?
It's just all about getting everyone to buy in on not only the idea of having culture, but on what that and then defining what it is, and I actually probably put them in reverse order. Every single year for going on 10 years at GlobalPro, I have, even when I had 2 employees to 20, it didn't matter how many employees we had, didn't matter what year it was. We always sat down and looked at the focus looked at our core values, and looked at our mission statement, and then set our goals. And in that order, it was always very important. We always looked at the core values, looked at the focus, and then the mission statement. I think sometimes people are like, "Oh, what's our mission?" Well, and in defining your core values and your focus, that's your to me that could, and in our instance, defines our culture. And what you'll see in our core values and focus at GlobalPro is a lot of talk about that. It's split between what we do for our clients and our community and what we're doing for ourselves internally. And what does it mean to be part of GlobalPro and its teams? And that then therefore defines the mission, right? Helps us write the mission, and then set our goals. And going through that exercise has helped us learn a lot about ourselves, and what we want internally at the company and what we want in our culture. One big thing that we harp on, and part of our culture, is turning moments of friction into learning opportunities. I talk about stress it all the time. We do have a bit of a high stress environment. We're not selling flowers and hanging out and or serving drinks and and it's not always the happiest place. We deal with a lot of adversity. Our clients deal with a lot of adversity because they may have lost a business, they may have lost their home and all their their belongings. So we have adversity that a lot of us brought in from the outside, right? Our clients are stressed out, or feeling the tension, or desperation because their business is destroyed by a hurricane or something. So tempers can run high, or you can feel the anxiety and the stress. They may have offloaded that on you. So we want to turn those friction opportunities into a learning opportunity, and being able to identify that. So we go through exercises and coaching on that, about how to do those things. It's a big part of it. More so than anything else, community is, I believe, part of our culture. A desire to want to give back, the desire to be part of it, and an understanding of where you fit within your community. So you see it like on everything we talk about is all about community. Because you gotta understand, we want to protect the interests of the community, but we also want to make sure that we're doing our best we can for our clients who are in the community. And many of our clients are pillars of many communities, and some very well-known people in the community that do a lot of giving back and are very essential to the operation, or if you will, of local, state, and federal government. So I think we play a pivotal role in our community, and I think having a sense of that and being able to recognize it and understand it, I think is essential to our success.
Well, I'll say one thing. Excuse me. I'll say one thing for sure, that knowing you since 2014, 2015, coming in and out of.
Should we talk about how I met you?
Right. All right. So we'll go back a little bit of that for those who don't know. But originally, back when I used to work for Equinox, Dan was actually one of my clients, and I used to train Dan when I was a personal trainer. So we met back at Equinox in roughly 2014, 2015, and obviously after there we started doing even more with the wellness events and all that stuff together. But knowing you from back then and coming in and out of being around your team, your family, and stuff like that, one of the things I noticed was today is that a lot of your team is still the same people. So it clearly shows that your morals, your focus, your mission statement is very strong, because if you're keeping a lot of the same people there for that long, it goes to show you that those people want to be there. And I think that's one of the biggest and scariest things that a lot of entrepreneurs or business owners deal with is, the departure of their team, the departure of certain people. And I'm not saying that that's not going to happen. Of course, people have their own journeys and missions, and who knows, maybe there's another person there that wants to be an entrepreneur themselves and want to go create their own thing. But I know that's one of the biggest worries a lot of entrepreneurs, hold on. What would you say to those entrepreneurs who deal with that?
I didn't come up with this, but it's hire slow, fire fast, and it's not just a time component. It's do your homework, and it takes time to identify truly a good fit. And I don't think people spend enough time doing the research, investigative work it takes to identifying who they're actually trying to hire as part of their team. And rather than just filling a seat and rushing to some conclusion or finality in that search, which is very difficult right now, considering the employment market. I think it's really important to exercise that. Even if you're experiencing fast growth, I see a lot of these companies scale so fast they have no culture. The reason I believe they have no culture is just their hiring process. It starts there, right? It's that's how you're trying to create a team.
What are some of the key indicators that lets you know this is a person that definitely is somebody who can be part of our team and also become a leader? And what are like the flags for you when it comes to hiring?
The favorite type of chocolate chip cookie, really. One of the key component is identifying that sense of community early on in the interview process. If I can't identify early on in the interview process that they have that sense of community, it's not going to work. Every one of our offices has a collaboration table, like a small conference room table, if you will, in it.
I've sat on it.
Yes. So, and again, it's this idea that the doors are always open, right? To me, that's a community, right? It's a sense of community. And I don't want to sound...
I'll just say I knock there and then everybody's like, "Hey, Anthony, hey, what's up? How's it going?"
Yeah. And I mean, and I think trying to achieve that without being so cliche or, strange about it. I've said the word community about, 50 times now in the last 5 minutes, but I mean, we've defined we've given a meaning to that word, right, within GlobalPro. So, and I'm sure as you can try to tell from the way I'm talking about it, we have defined what that means to us, and then finding people that we believe will subscribe to it is really essential to protecting the culture, like you were talking about earlier. And retention is, it's so important. The cost of training is ridiculous. Particularly in an area like in insurance, which is highly technical, incredibly could be boring, but essential. Yeah. It's like much of business would not transact or occur without it. And people don't realize, a lot of people just discredit insurance and it's like, whatever, I hired an insurance broker agent, just give me whatever I need. They don't take the time to understand what it is. So, finding people that have a desire to learn and to constantly learn. This is a field which is constantly changing. Although the policies themselves may change, the state laws may change, the case law, the outcome of lawsuits may entirely change how something is interpreted or works. Construction techniques, engineering practices all go into and impact how things are insured, how insurance companies pay for damages and claims, and how you might insure something down the road as you restructure your company or buy new assets or whatever it might be. So it's very highly technical. So you have to have someone that has an innate desire to want to learn, and this belief in community. And because without that collaborative workplace, which is tough in the pandemic virtual world that many of us are still in, you could struggle, and I think that's truly what differentiates GlobalPro from many of those that claim to be competitors of ours. Because when I go talk to their people, which of course, we've hired recruiters that have gone out, we got this great guy or woman that worked at so and so, and I'm like, yeah, let me talk to them for like 2-3 minutes. And you learn a lot about the company they're leaving real fast. It almost seems like they want more of what they had there, but they just want more compensation, or they want to work less hours, but they want that same environment, which had no structure. They were on their own. Everyone left them alone. It's like, you're not getting that at GlobalPro. It's okay to go on vacation at GlobalPro, right? In fact, I encourage it. But I find in some of these companies, vacation is abused in a way that it's actually not used for rest and relaxation. in a time of reflection, which is unfortunate. So we talk a lot about it. In fact, we used to hire you to come in to talk about that.
That's right.
And think about it, small business, hiring a fitness coach, health and fitness coach to come in, talk about eating, talk about how you sit, talk about how you work out, how you move, do those things. You're not going to see that typically at a small business. But to me, I was investing in my team. I didn't care if we had 4 people, again, or 20 or more.
I remember we did that for 2 years straight?
Yeah.
2 years straight.
Yeah, and I know corporations with hundreds of employees, thousands, that do none of that. They put it on their internal blogs or whatever else that they make it available. But I mean, the fact is, I would literally, we shut the office down at 4 o'clock and we do an hour of yoga together. Yeah. And at the time, I think we had 10, 12 employees.
Yeah.
So
we did
again,
pop-ups, we did different experiences
on Saturdays and Sundays.
Cool gifts.
Yeah, 7 days a week, and my team would show up. Mm-hmm. They loved going to these things, and they didn't mind being around each other. And they would bring their loved ones and their kids.
Oh yeah,
it was fun. But again, that was the. It takes I don't think everyone is a good fit for our company. Just like there may not be a good fit for some other environments, but that's the type of company we want.
It's like we always say, at least I always say, I'm like, we're not meant to serve everybody, we're meant to serve a certain group of people.
Yeah. Right? Which to some in today's world with social media is tough.
It is.
Because you're trying to please everyone and they hate the comments. Well, then stop posting. Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Not everyone's going to love what you're doing. And there's a keyboard critic out there for any person.
That's okay.
Oh, yeah.
I tell people all the time, you got to be okay with knowing that you're not going to be for everybody.
Nah.
Because again, if you try serving everybody, you're going to end up serving nobody, and then you actually shoot yourself in the foot because the people you're meant to work with, they're actually going to be like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" Because you've shifted everything so broad, or you're trying to go after everybody, that the people you did have are going to be like, "Okay, well, I guess you're not for us, and we're not for you anymore."
Trying to be something to everyone is definitely a biggest downfall of a lot of entrepreneurs, or would-be entrepreneurs. And I think that's the curse of social media too.
Yeah.
Is that they see the success of the Instagram model or the young dude with the 30 Lamborghinis or Ferraris, whatever, and they don't actually know what it takes to actually own that, rather than it owning you, and you're just trying to satisfy every last click.
Or somebody renting it versus actually owning it.
Yeah, you basically put your soul on sale. It doesn't make any sense. It's unfortunate, and having young kids, I'm hoping that the world at some point pivots, for everyone's benefit. But it seems like with the advent of more and more social media platforms that, we're just going to continue to trend in this voyeuristic world that we all live in today, more and more, just because it sells. So, but it's tough. From a business perspective, social media is fantastic if it's used right? Adds transparency. We've actually attracted new potential team members, like employees and stuff that way, and also people are starting to use social media for credibility, right? So if you're not on social media, you're not credible.
It's almost like the what they call now the social currency.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The social currency. It's almost like it's like a walking resume. That's really what it's become, a walking resume. But, you brought a good point about it being something that can be looked at bad or used badly, but also it can bring a lot of benefit for you, suggestion to the audience, as a business owner and entrepreneur who also has, maybe they have a family, they have kids, and they're using social media for their businesses. What are some of your go-to practices when it comes to like, okay, this is how you should look to use it for your business, and you should try avoiding these things?
To me, it's to stay true to your brand. I see a lot of people I'm trying to find a PG way of saying this, but we're
on the Sweat It Out podcast.
Come on. They whore out their brand, and they make a mockery of themselves, trying to get the clicks.
Oh, yeah.
It's so important to grow their Instagram following, then deliver on their core values, and the focus and mission of their business and protect the culture within their company, that they go beyond transparency in the workplace. And I think it's important to be on social media, and there's some businesses that are entirely built on it, right? And I think that's different, right?
We talked a little bit about that off camera a little bit, how, it's great, but it also can be a problem down the road where what happens if social media disappears? What happens if there's another outage, and it's longer than what it is? What are you going to do with your business now?
Well, what I'm talking, and then the social media companies, like, I mean, the ones that are around, like, literally are making their money through sales through social media. I have no idea what they did during the blackout, other than just
you better have a strong email list. You better have phone numbers to call.
Phone numbers. Most of them don't even have that, or email. No. But no, I mean, like, but for us, it's we're in the concierge, white glove type level services. I mean, a lot of our client base is through direct referral and recommendations of advisors or former clients. We're not necessarily trying to create lead generation through the social media, but we understand the importance of it too, in properly representing our brand and protecting it. So I think some companies just get a little bit confused between doing what we're doing and wanting, or this desire to be on the other spectrum. And it's like, wait, man, that's not true to your brand. Get back to what got you where you are. And I wouldn't shame them for trying, but like understand and have some sort of measure or KPI or something to determine when to quit. Okay. Or the opposite, or when to go all in on it. Like maybe you didn't realize the potential there and you run it hard. But I think it'd be a misconception to say that you need to build your brand on the back of social media, particularly in that service industry that we're in. I think it's a mistake. There's a local firm here that I believe does too much of that. And I know their clientele because we share it in common, and our mutual clients make comments about it. Mm-hmm. And they've invested so much into that social media. Yeah. And it's like a year ago or 2 years ago, you didn't. And from what I've been told and talking with the owners and some of our mutual clients, they've seen a lot of interest in their company, but there's no more conversion than before. But how do you measure the interest? Is it truly the attention you wanted or needed to grow your business, to protect, and also, are you protecting your brand? Are you protecting your culture? And I don't think they have. And because, again, our own mutual clients are highly critical of what it is that they're doing, and have given me direct feedback, unsolicited. And I'm just like, that's their thing. They're going to keep doing it. So it's just an example of where I think you have to be measured in your approach to it. And also, too, one size doesn't fit all, right? So some businesses are better positioned for Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Discord, Clubhouse, if that even still exists.
Yeah, it's still not as strong.
Yeah, it had its moment. Vine or whatever else is out there, right? So TikTok, so it doesn't, we talked about TikTok just yesterday. And you're like, oh yeah, TikTok. And I was like, yeah, man, we have an account, but honestly, I don't know that it's. I don't know what I'm going to do. And maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe I'm wrong, and I could be. And I would gladly be proven wrong. But I'm not sure that that's the demographic based on our research and the information we have about our current clientele, and then the ones in the clientele we're prospecting. And it's not just an age thing. It's not that. It's likes, it's interests, things like that. And it just doesn't seem to be where we would go with our content today. Maybe tomorrow. I don't know. That's one of those things, is that as an entrepreneur, I'm saying that today, but tomorrow we may pivot. Maybe we are. Maybe we have like blowout and we all invest all in on TikTok. Who knows? Well, that's the beauty of having, your own business.
Your TikTok username is Daniel Odess?
Yes.
Wild Daddy?
Yeah. I wear a mask, no shirt, run around. Yeah, it's
I'm
fun.
gonna
Yeah. Do fun little dances. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So you know what's interesting that we're talking about social media and everything. I think with the pandemic and everything going on, I think a lot of people had to pivot into social media because a lot of businesses have been shut down. What do you think the post-COVID economy is going to look like? Now that we're starting to get vaccination, you're starting to see people go to the office. What do you think the future holds for, I guess, the rest of the world?
Well, it's interesting because I think where the light was shined brightest during the pandemic was actually on division. Okay, both culturally, ethnicity, politically. So I think the fallout of the pandemic is more division than anything else. Unfortunately, it's you've seen some success, obviously because of the economy and the things that have shifted. But I mean, we're already seeing inflation. We're hearing about there's certain state laws within the United States that have created mass exoduses from other areas, which like Miami's tremendously benefit from. But staying away from all the political, social issues, and looking just particularly at, let's say, the economics around, or the economic reaction or upside of it, is that you had this amazing amount of ingenuity. I thought, and it went from young to old.
Oh yeah,
Very cool.
And I think there's all that division and nastiness that was going on. But the flip side of it, and where I was most focused, my energy and aspect, at some point, like I kind of want to tune all that other noise out. It's just how awesome the opportunity was for so many people that had nothing to do, okay, sitting around, and how many people were inspired, and how they brought so many new products, ideas, interesting things to the forefront, and you were able to, and honestly, it was because so many eyes were on and people were looking for things to do, right? So you had this, it was like a treasure map, you're trying to, it was amazing. It was, you're in this, it's kind of like as if you were out in like the rainforest searching for like the next antiquity or artifact or something. It was everyone was on this adventure together, sitting on a couch, at home. And you had all this, again, young to old, coming up with new ideas, fresh perspective on stuff. Small businesses, huge proponent of small businesses, just popping up left and right. Unfortunately, though, can those small businesses sustain growth or stimulate growth, particularly with supply chain issues we're having, with the inflation that's coming or is upon us, possible political fallout, and transitions that are going on. We'll see, because during the pandemic, like right in the early days of it, I don't think you had as difficult of time, and things were moving so fast, right? Cryptocurrency, NFTs, that stuff was like just coming up. It's super exciting, right? The dust has settled a little bit, and I think there's a lot more change coming, and we'll see. We'll see if these small businesses, these online businesses particularly, can sustain the test of time. But no matter what, I think we'll look back, 10 years from now, at that time during the pandemic, from an economic business perspective, as saying like, wow, how many things were created and done during that time. I think people will be pretty fascinated, considering the lockdown situation and the inability to move around, which usually led to innovation, right? But now you have this whole shifting current, right? You have this mass exodus out of like Silicon Valley to Miami, the idea of cryptocurrency, like all these things, like you have like literally physically the the idea machine moved, maybe potentially. We'll see. They talk about the move. They talk about the innovation centers and it's shifting to different parts of the world. We'll see. There's parts of the country which were the tech hubs, right, that everyone went to for, I guess, cheap labor and innovation, that are really struggling still with the pandemic and COVID, and they can't get things through. So, are they going to fall behind or not? Who knows?
Well, and then you see the pluses that, they're looking at Florida, now state tax, and you see a mayor like Suarez who welcomes, a lot of this technology-based companies and, future innovation and crypto and all that stuff. So it's attractive for them. It's attractive for them.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to introduce Mayor Suarez just recently at a conference, and got to speak to him for a few minutes and listen. And he is an incredible promoter and marketing.
We're talking about it all the time.
And again, that I think was innovative how he approached it. I mean, where did you ever see a mayor take out a billboard in another state to tell them to text him? Like using that, or DM. Actually, I think he said DM, not text. To DM him, like using social media as a seated politician promoting his city in another district because he wanted to become the innovation hub and saw the opportunity. That was innovative. That was forward thinking. It's something that I don't think we'd ever seen before. I haven't seen it personally. I applaud him for that, for those efforts. And I think that's, that's innovation, right? That's using social media. Like literally took a post from his social media. I think it was a tweet, that was then reused on Instagram, that then repurposed onto a billboard, to drive interest in where a lot of people coming from. California, where the billboard was, allegedly. I actually personally didn't see it. I saw a picture of the billboard. To drive interest. I mean, even if...
Well, you even saw it in real estate. What was that billboard in New York that was saying, go buy your home in Miami? Or buy your...
Well, and everyone was saying, some of the politicians in New York were some of the best Miami real estate agent, your South Florida real estate agents, right? Because it's not just Miami, Palm Beach, Broward, they're all seeing this massive growth.
Well, now they're talking about South Florida.
It's just Palm Beach is. I just spoken to a group of real estate investors, agents. It was all real estate orientated in Palm Beach area, and it was the statistics on Palm Beach are remarkable for the growth that they've seen during the pandemic. It's and thereafter. So it's
we have some hedge funds moved down there too.
Oh, right? Big time, man! You got lots of money coming here. You have from various different places, and just again going back to the word innovation, like it's a lot of innovation, and I think everyone is benefiting from it, the local economy. Now, the other struggles is just that, the rent is through the roof, and there's some controversy around that, and also too, we have a lack of workforce right now. I mean, you go to restaurants, there's tables available, but they don't have waiters and waitresses. They don't have chefs.
People aren't working.
Yeah, but they don't want to work too.
Yeah. That's so there's a definitely a struggle there. It's a very difficult one to analyze and understand, but I think there's plenty of opportunity out there right now.
Yeah.
And if you're not thinking that way right now, you're asleep.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like I say all the time. It's like same thing with people in COVID who didn't do anything with it. Who didn't take advantage of actually thinking of ideas and putting some kind of game plan, or actually maybe there was a business they've been wanting to work on and that was your opportunity. You didn't do it. Like you probably missed out on a lot.
What did we do during the pandemic?
Yeah, we tried things. We experimented. Part of what I was doing with my fitness business. Of going into helping these coaches scale their businesses. Well, my big boom was because of COVID. And I shifted over and I said, you know what? I'm not going to be training people anymore. I'm going to be the one training the coaches how to scale their online businesses on social media. And I saw it as an opportunity. And again, now it's just like, okay, what's the next opportunity from here? But I think it's those people who can later on in 10 years from now, like you said, man, look what this did and look how we took advantage of it during a time where it tested us, our character, our focus and where we wanted to take things. And a lot of people who didn't do anything, they're going to look back and be like, "Holy crap, I missed out on a huge opportunity." You know,
yeah, there's you can dwell on the negative and there's plenty to dwell on, but you can also be optimistic about the future and realize that a lot changed. I think there's a lot of positive change.
I agree.
And I think it gave a lot of people that opportunity to experiment. I think there's plenty of success stories. I know several friends of mine who, they hung up the suit. It was that was it for them. And
I think it also spending 5 years into the future when it comes to like digital, all the interface and Zoom stuff, and I think it just sped things into the future. We already saw this coming, but this like forced it.
Yep. Oh yeah. I mean, nowadays, people are having meetings now, right? But still getting requests for Zoom calls, right? And it's an association wants to talk with us, and they're in Palm Beach. They don't even ask for the in-person meeting typically first. It's first a Zoom call, then opposite, maybe So, and again, I particularly favor the in-person meeting because that's our concierge type business. I mean, I was just used to doing things that way. And it took a certain type of finesse and innovation to make that construct work for the type of business and service that we provide, right? So it was interesting. It was and we built things around. You got to build you build virtual backgrounds and. So I don't know how many people bought green screens.
Were you the guy that would sit there in your underwear and then just wear the suit top of the suit? Was that you?
No, yeah, it was. I mean, there was times no underwear, but there's times I was wearing a pair of shorts.
All right.
But then again, I mean, like it became commonplace though. I think there was a lot of that in the beginning, but then people started because their clients weren't even dressing that way anymore, right? So. I think a lot of people kind of went away from that, and then you saw the explosion of athlete leisure, like where you have companies that market went crazy because they realize they don't need
look
to
good, feel good.
Yeah, they don't need this look and feel of it as well. And I think some of your large institutional banks and let me say historically older, more traditional businesses are the ones that are probably struggling the most. With that change and particularly in the way you look and what's acceptable, right? It was, your banker was always wearing a suit and a tie. Well, we work with several different banks, both locally and in other states. And I can tell you right now, the two more prominent bankers in my life, they don't wear a suit and tie anymore. So, and I can tell you in 2019, they were suit and tie. They're not anymore. But it's like, I never would even really think much of it right now because, we're not in suit and tie. We're not sitting here in suit and tie.
You got the initials though.
Yeah. Well, it's that was pre-2020, so.
That's an old shirt.
Yeah. But, going back to like just, talking about, doing these things behind camera and stuff like this, I think moving forward what I've come to see now, because people still want to have the human element and they're bringing that back again. But what I've noticed now is like everything is very hybrid, and if you have to have a hybrid model incorporated into your business now where you have the in-person with the virtual, especially when you're doing live events or meetings or stuff like that, where you either give the option or somebody wants to tune in. You can have people in person. You can have also people tune in live live on virtual at the same time. Yeah. Now you can reach a bigger audience of people, and you can also capitalize on that. And a lot of people maybe could have never connected with you before now can connect with you because you have that offering. So I think a lot of businesses who are against, or they just are like, no, we're going to keep doing our way, are going to struggle. Yeah, maybe a lot of the big ones have so much money they can still kind of beat their way through for a while. But I think you're going to see in the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to start being like, holy crap, we're getting sucked out.
I think there's a lot of, I think again, it goes back to the ingenuity and redefining what it means to be an entrepreneur, or redefining what it means to be an employee, right? I mean, employees nowadays, allegedly, want more flexibility and don't want to go to an office. Depends on which media outlet you read. And then there's just I think it's just a lot of change going on right now, and it's happening so fast that that flexibility, the ability to pivot, the ability to be proven wrong, accept someone else's opinion or vision on things, willingness to try something, and if it doesn't work, or measure it, and if it doesn't work, then move away from it rather than get stuck in it. There was I think at first there was this call back to office, and then it was like kind of like a sort of a call back to office, and it was like, we're not going back to the office. And then it was the employees, we're not, we don't want to be in the office. And then now you're hearing, we want to be in the office. And, it's changing so fast right now. And I think it's also on the client facing side, which you were saying, which, the Zoom or not the Zoom, and then, or this like hybrid, right? And I think the hybrid situation that I'm seeing play out with a lot of our potential clients is during the initial phase of it is, there is a Zoom call followed by a meeting in person. Guess what? The Zoom call, everyone attends. The in-person call, maybe one person. Saves a lot of people time. You don't have the drive time. You don't have the what part of that, the part that I don't like is you don't have a lot of rapport building opportunity in that initial Zoom call, because usually you get onto the Zoom at a certain time and it starts.
Yeah. Yep. And people are a little bit more, I want to speed this up a little bit through a Zoom call, right? Which
is okay for some things. It's not a one size fits all, but again, you got to be able to pivot, and that's why, you need to get better at it. I mean, I think largely many businesses struggle through in the beginning. I mean, they were quickly trying to revise their policies and procedures, for how to handle these types of situations. I mean, I know we were, and we're a small business that pivots constantly, right? But it's that innate desire more so than the ability to adapt. I think is what differentiates businesses today from those that will succeed and those that will fail, because of how fast things change.
Yeah, no, spot on.
Yeah, well, what do you think now that we're seeing the push of the NFTs and the cryptos and all that, you brought up something earlier in the conversation about the growth in that, a little bit with technology, insurance. Do you feel that technology can be incorporated with real estate or insurance? What's the future of that?
Well, yeah, actually, just recently did we have a broadcast, Go Cover It Live, and had on a friend of mine who, or colleague, if you will, as well, who him and I have traded notes on NFTs for quite some time, both early adopters of crypto. I got in early, bought some Bitcoin early on, did a little Ethereum, and then, kind of build it from there. But, and then got my first NFT, second, third, fourth, and then just kind of went from there. And the biggest reason why I was an early adopter was I took the time to research the technology and understand it, and its potential was ridiculous. To me, it was off the charts. And I think people are starting to realize it, just starting to realize it. We are certainly in the infancy with this technology. We are at the very beginning of it. And as it relates to insurance in my industry, InsurTech just became a thing, as I noted earlier, right? I'm very much into tech. I've been in tech for a very long time. And so I have been planning and thinking of different ways in which we can incorporate this technology either into our services and our products, or things we can potentially build or offer or acquire, or partner, or other businesses we acquire to develop or participate in their development of it. So many different strategies. One thing I was harping on was title insurance, transfer of ownership of property, how available the information is, and really how things like title insurance, do they have a future with smart contracts, which is like blockchain? If I can prove the ownership of something going back 20, 30 years by clicking on a button, why do I need to buy a very expensive policy of insurance to protect that? I should know anything and everything about a piece of property at that point. But how do you populate that blockchain with is going to be the biggest hurdle. I foresee right now, there may be others, obviously. I would assume there are that someone will discover and find. But I think also too is the thing that NFT offers is inclusion and exclusivity all in one, right? There's so many projects, so it's inclusive in that idea, right? It's that go buy a coin and you can buy an NFT. It's very inclusive. And anyone most often can buy an NFT or mint one. It just requires a little bit more, Bitcoin here or there after it's been minted or whatever it may be. Or you can launch your own NFT, right? So, but it's exclusive in the fact that as of right now, the trend is to create limited number of tokens, right? I believe the initial thought is that limited to create demand.
Yeah.
But the issue with some of these earlier projects is that they have no utility. And I think if we focus on utility, I think the true potential of NFTs, smart contracts, and Bitcoin, and not Bitcoin, but in blockchain will be realized. And I think just by limiting something doesn't in fact make it more valuable than per se, an NFT token for a piece of real estate. And I think, and the last thing I want to say is that something that Gary Vaynerchuk just recently did, which I think was a massive milestone, he certainly promoted it as one. He's, I think, 100% right, which is not only are his NFT projects going bonkers and worth an ungodly amount of money, some of them, but he also then sold the physical art, the tangible art, which his early on when he was promoting this idea of NFT, he was highly criticized for it as promoting this pump and dump scenario. And then he went and sold at an auction, a credible auction, his physical art for over $1 million collectively. Right. But it showed that, and he's created a lot of utility around it. If you actually go and actually spend time researching his own projects, I applaud his efforts. I think he's brought a lot of attention to an amazing technology. And there's always one cheerleader that, stands out in front, right? It's always the captain. And right now, I think the biggest cheerleader for NFTs is Gary Vaynerchuk.
I agree.
I think it's, and hopefully because of that, because of the demographic that really follows him, which I believe is the future, there's a lot of things we're not even thinking about today, innovation that's going to come about from it.
So for people who are early adopters into wanting to know more about this NFT and crypto world, what are some of your go-to resources that you went to or that you're seeing now that are, great resources, or even Gary Vee himself? What are some of these go-to resources that people themselves in our audience can start searching and doing their own exploration, their own, search on NFTs and crypto?
Definitely, you got to get on Discord. It seems like the entire NFT community revolves around it. Twitter seemed to be the hotspot for cryptocurrencies. You got to be careful about the where you're getting your advice from. It's a very volatile market. The NFT obviously is transacted or bought and sold by using cryptocurrency, so it's based on it. Mostly Ethereum, but there's also others now. But you got to be careful and understand the volatile nature of the coins. And I think, you have to take a measured risk, meaning don't overdo it. And there's a lot of advice out there on that. But if you're truly interested in it, I think you need to shut out a lot of the other nonsense, bullshit about, and some of the harsher criticisms regarding let me say the early use of cryptocurrency, which allegedly was for, drug cartels and, criminal activity and things like that. Yeah. if you shut that out and you actually research the technology itself and what it could be used for, the idea of the decentralization, interesting pivot that we recently saw is that a lot of these people that are big proponents of, decentralized banking and everything else and lack of regulation are actually now promoting the idea of possible regulation.
We were talking about that the other day, remember?
Because they're saying it's going to add the legitimacy back into it that everyone is looking for, that you see with your hard currencies like the US dollar and others. So I thought that was kind of interesting. There was a couple people on Twitter that were promoting this idea. And I distinctively remember them saying the opposite at one point.
What's going on here?
Yeah, so that the reason why we wanted crypto was because it wasn't regulated, but now we're saying if it's regulated, it becomes more legitimate. I guess the jury's out on that one. But I definitely Discord, Twitter, social media is a great resource for it. You have the Reddit community. I find it very difficult to discern between truth and fiction there, but I think it's if you can, right? If you can transact, try it, right? Take a small risk and experience it, and I think you'll understand a little bit more of it. I gave that advice to a colleague of mine recently. And again, he bought a fraction of a coin, a very, very small fraction of a coin. Went through the process setting the wallet and the transfer, and then I think I've now convinced him to buy an NFT. So he's gotten really into it, right? He started reading on the technology and everything else, and now you're seeing the growth of the conferences, like the Bitcoin conference that's going to be here in Miami, and
they already had one not too long ago.
Yep, and Emerge and all these. So track those things. I think it's. I think again, the idea of utility is in each aspect of this technology, right? It's from the blockchain to the coins themselves, to the NFTs, and to all the other things, right? It's not just the cryptocurrency, which gets a lot of attention, or NFTs that do. There's a whole lot of science and experimenting going on with the technology behind it, the idea of mining, and stuff like that. So, there's some good resources.
Awesome. And would you say that, you mentioned the Bitcoin conference and Emerge, which I know Manny Medina runs that. Would you say those are the two strongest right now that are really pushing on and streamlining a lot of the, events and conferences here in Miami when it comes to that kind of information, tech, software?
Well, I think right now, because Miami's getting so much attention, I think, it goes without saying that those are two now. They weren't always Miami-focused events. And because of the attention that Miami is getting as being a tech hub, and the influx of people from Silicon Valley and other parts of the world to bring their tech and their companies here, you're going to see tremendous growth opportunity for those conferences, and the talent's coming. Yeah. So, I think they're going to be it, but are they it? I mean, again, I've been to Emerge. I have not been to any sort of crypto or Bitcoin conference as of yet. I'm sure I will.
I've been to Emerge 3-4 times. So.
Yeah, and it went through its phases, right? I went to the first Emerge conference, and then missed a couple of years and went back again. So I think I can't imagine it not being tremendously successful in the next couple of years, unless there's just some major economic fallout and the crypto world completely falls apart. I think the attention that crypto and blockchain and NFTs and everything you're associated with is getting right now is going to drive more interest in tech.
It's just very strong.
Yeah. But are we sitting on a .com bubble? That's the question.
Well, there's a country out, I forgot which one it is, I think El Salvador, that they've incorporated Bitcoin. So they went off of their currency. Now they're 100% in Bitcoin. Yeah. And there's a stat that was interesting that I saw, that the population that has checking accounts there is around 1 million or so, 1.5 million. Now with crypto, there's over, I think, 4 million people that have access now to that. You guys can fact check me on that, but the stat that's there is basically crypto has given these people in rural areas the ability to have digital currency. And a lot of people thought that they were going to be against it, but actually they've been pushing it even more. They've been using it. They found it easier than having a bank.
Yeah, there's some controversy on it because they did give coin to the population some of it. But you know, it's not the first country to adopt. They're using volcanoes to mine for it now. So you know, I think there's you know, another fun. This is 20% of the Bitcoin that was available in the market is gone forever. It was lost. So you know, you think about it as a finite amount of it, but it's just one of the, you know, that's supposedly the darling of all crypto, right?
All crypto.
Yeah, so you have the gold standard, the Bitcoin supposedly, and you know, Ethereum, which is the silver, but you have Solana and Cardano, like, you know, all these other coins that are certainly getting attention, and you have the 20-something-year-old that started the XFT crypto exchange. He's the
you see him here,
youngest billionaire.
You see him here sponsoring
The arena,
the Miami Heat arena.
Yeah, so you know, let's see. You know, there was a lot of darlings of the .com bubble, and they don't exist anymore. So you know,
so are we going to see a GlobalPro coin? That's
I think you know, maybe a Griffin coin. I don't know. We'll see. But I maybe not a coin, but I definitely understand the tokens, the NFTs. Yeah. I think for business purposes, I think a lot of business owners, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs should take a chance on NFTs and try to incorporate them into it. Again, you know, like we used to, I don't know if you've probably been to a point of sale place, you know, POS, where you go buy like ice cream, and there's the little like machine where you can sign up for the coupon, right? And they want your information. Well, that could easily be done through a token.
Yeah.
Right, that you hold in your wallet, and you could scan your wallet, and it says that you have a token, and then you get the discount like that, and then you can pay with using your crypto. That's I believe that's coming, and maybe you would do a limited run on certain types of tokens, so that you're not we saw expiration dates on coupons, right? Well, you can do those, or maybe it never expires, or maybe what you do is later on you can resell it, like, so maybe it offers you a free ice cream every 10 ice creams, and you get your 10th one, and you can sell it for half price, and and the merchant gets a fraction of the sale of something. I mean, again, there's many different ways you can use tokens to
people like it. People like this. A Tina credit or a coin. You know, you've seen it in early gaming adopters. You know, like we're even going back in the day, like even back to when we were young kids, like even coins and credits were already used, where you win a certain level, you get coins and tokens, you can buy this pack, you can buy that pack, or you get so that those concepts already evolved, where now it's like, holy crap, this is real life. I can actually use this to buy real tangible things. So I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, gamification is another level. I personally have been tracking NFTs and the game industry in NFTs. I think look at the.
I know you might program.
Look at the earlier
game.
What's that?
Like you might program a game or something.
Yeah. The early adopters of crypto, and you look at the demographic, and you look at the rise of esports.
It's huge.
And then you think about cryptocurrency, think about NFTs, and I mean, kids and adults were already buying things in these games. Mm-hmm. Well, now they're starting to tokenize that experience, and then you could sell the token, right? And resell, and then the rather than doing it on a third party basis, which sometimes the transaction would occur, now you don't care if it's on a third party basis, because you're getting a royalty as the developer of the game, right? So you're tying those things in together. I mean, that's the beauty of this concept. That's why music industry, the movie industry, going to get rocked by NFTs, because you can control 100% of the distribution and retain royalties forever, right? You can release 10,000 tokens entitling 10,000 people to a record, and they will only have it if they want to resell the token to gain access to the record. Then again, the royalty goes back to the creator of that token, right? So, and get this, the artist knows who holds those tokens. They can see those wallets.
Wow.
And they can do an airdrop, something free, right? That may entitle them to something else, a limited edition drop or raffles. You're seeing Gary Vaynerchuk do a lot of these raffles around, giveaway things, and those free airdrops he's doing are turnaround. People are selling them for 2 or 3 ETH, like big money. That's Ethereum's trading for what, $3,000-$4,000 a coin, and now next thing you know, you're getting something just dropped in your wallet because you hold a VCon token, or a token that tells you to a VCon conference because you have one. He's now giving you a free airdrop. You turn around and it's just creating this whole thing, and then he gets a fraction, a royalty on the sale of that future token.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So I think we can agree. We definitely we touched upon a lot of topics today, which I really loved it.
What else you want to talk about?
Pets,
cars.
No, I absolutely love this because I think it's just so important for where everything's headed to, for people to be educated on this. And coming from somebody who's tremendously successful yourself and always trying new things and not scared to take risks of failing at these things because you see the bigger vision, the potential. I think it's amazing. But as we wrap things up, I definitely want to talk a little bit about your nonprofit, and I think that's very important to bring up because it is something that you push and it's something that you believe in, and I definitely would love for people to know where they can also go in and take a little peek at it and see if that's something they want to support.
Yeah, obviously go to our website, getglobalpro.com, which we are rebranding. Just got the domain, globalpro.com. So that'll be really excited about that, particularly going into our 10th year, which is big time for a small business. And on the website, it's called the GlobalPro Cares Foundation. It's a 501c3. We partner with local organizations to give back to the community, and we also have our own initiative, Fresh Cuts and Kicks, and it's geared towards giving back to the community in a unique way, where we are collecting lightly used or new shoes for victims. So we're always in the front line. So we're trying to always help wherever we can. And everyone can relate to the feeling of getting a fresh pair of sneakers or shoes, the way that you hold yourself, the way you feel about yourself, having that. And then when you get to your haircut, your fresh cut, right? It just changes something about your perspective. So we launched this charity initiative, Fresh Kicks and Cuts, and you check it out online there. We've done major shoe drives. We then use a lot of the materials that we've bought and purchased to do other types of drives, whether it's for food or for clothing, for victims. And those victims are here domestically as well as foreign. They're big boxes. They fit up to like 12 pairs of shoes in there. So they can fit a lot of clothing, needless to say. And we distribute it throughout the country, as well as we've done it to the Caribbean and to Central South America. So we're going to continue doing that. This year, we partnered up with Camilla's House, who has been taking a really prominent role in helping the victims of Champlain South Tower when the association fell, the property collapsed, to just fighting this issue of homelessness and giving the homeless a fresh opportunity and a fresh start. And their facilities are absolutely tremendous, and that's truly why we partner with them. We're always on the front lines, and there's a lot of victims of storms and damage and natural disasters, and a lot of times it's the focus is on those that lost their homes, but not so much on those that didn't even have a house and that are on the street and have nowhere to go or seek shelter in these times of disaster or need. And they have just as, they have needs too, and they're just as important as any one of us. And they do just an incredible job. So we recently donated about $12,000 to them, where they were doing a thing for homeless kids, and also a thing with regards to meals. So we gave a bunch of school supplies. We give the $12,000 for this chef program, where they actually teach the homeless how to cook healthy, inexpensive meals. And what type of ingredients to use. I mean, it's very difficult to come for them to purchase these things, to walk and do these things. So they created an entire program around it. So we helped fund that this year, and then gave back for the charity on the kids. We collected a tremendous amount of furniture and clothing, and donated money to the victims of Champlain South Tower. Fresh Kicks and Cuts, the GlobalPro initiative has been really successful. And I'm looking forward to doing more in 2022. We have a really aggressive growth strategy for the charity initiative, which is unique to, at being a business, it doesn't make money. It's not intended to make money. It's intended to give back. And that sense of community, which we've been talking about a lot, is why we do it. From day one, the community, the idea of community has been important. And with the launch of our own charity, GlobalPro Cares Foundation, and an initiative like Fresh Kicks and Cuts, it really gives us that opportunity to engage on a different level. Not having the 501c3 actually made it very difficult because we had to entrust all of our resources in third parties, which sometimes we didn't align with what they're trying to do or how they did it. There's a lot of wasteful giving. A lot of people don't know about it, but like clothing and things like that, if they're not properly collected or cleaned or categorized or separated, it actually does not get to the people in need.
Actually, remember when one of the hurricanes hit, I think you were talking to me, you were going through some of this issue, trying to
Dorian.
get some. Yeah, I remember that. I remember I was actually there. I think I was bringing some stuff to donate, and you were telling me some of the issues that were going on.
Yeah, we did. We ran that charity for a couple weeks. We did it 2 strong days where our whole team was out there. Great video of it online, so check it out on the YouTube channel as well as the website there. It took us, I don't know, maybe a month to sort that stuff, to clean it, wash it, tag it, sort it, and then get it to the victims. Incidentally, though, while it may seem odd to a lot of people, oh my God, it took you a month to get the stuff to them. What happens in those situations in the Caribbean is that you had literally an island that was totally uninhabitable, because of the storm. Those people disappeared. They moved, right? They moved they came to the United States. They went to other islands. So it took us almost a month during that time to try to identify a place to actually give to, because there's also when you're trying to give to a foreign country or to give to other places, you got to be concerned with where the stuff actually goes and making sure it goes to the people that actually need it.
Totally.
And we've seen some issues with that. That's again why GlobalPro Cares Foundation is now, because we can control a lot of distribution. We can control kind of where our resources are going, our time, our money, whatever donations we collect ourselves. So we're doing these things year round now because we have it, and I love it's one of my favorite things to do for sure.
Well, Dan, I just want to personally say thank you so much for coming on the podcast today and sharing your experience, your growth, your knowledge, what you do with your community and your culture, how passionate you are with all the projects you got going on with your nonprofit, and I think it's just amazing being able to, not only having known you since the time frame I've known you, but also to be able to myself grow and be influenced by you and learn certain things from you that I've been able to apply for my own life, my own business, and myself. So I really want to just say thank you. And before I hand things over to you again, so you can throw your plugs in here and people can find you, I just want to give the floor to Bryan to just say what else he wants to, talk to you about.
Yeah, thanks for your time here. I mean, this was a very informative conversation. A lot of things here we spoke about. I know you guys are going to really enjoy it, especially with the NFTs. That's something that actually Dan got me into when we spoke not too long ago. So I hope you guys really find value in the conversation we had today. And Dan, the floor is yours.
Yeah, where can people find you?
Check us out online. If you search GlobalPro, we're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and obviously our website, getglobalpro.com, which will be rebranded to globalpro.com soon. And myself, DBO Solutions is my handle on Twitter as well as on Instagram, where I provide a little bit of insight as to what we're doing and what I'm doing personally and within the businesses, as well as a little insight in my family life and some of my own personal struggles and accomplishments. But more importantly, I think a great resource for those that are watching this is check out our YouTube channel, the Global Recovery YouTube channel. We have an amazing amount of videos on there. We're going to be populating it with more and more and more. We're trying to create a lot more tutorials, testimonial videos. I have the live show that I do every Thursday, Recovery Report Live, where we bring on industry experts and we're bringing on people that typically don't get in front of the camera. Engineers, architects, material manufacturers, things like that, to talk about important insurance information and that community association business owners can use. Hit us up, let us know how we can help you. Our team is available 24/7. So it's, we don't sleep on insurance, that's for sure.
Amazing. Well, the way we like to do things are on Sweat It Out to end it up on the right note. We like to take you through a quick little burn around.
Yeah.
And then we're going to finish it strong. So, right, let's go. Question number 1. What's the number one thing you would like to see in the future of Miami in the next 5 years?
Formula One.
Formula One?
Yeah.
Why Formula One?
I like the passion for it, man. I love it. Can't wait. I'm doing my walkthrough coming up. I put my deposit in. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for what it means for the community. It brings a lot of money. It brings a lot of growth opportunity. It's an incredible experience. Even if you're not a car enthusiast, it's just something to see, something to experience. It really is a very cool fan event. And I love sports. But even if you don't, it's the technology that goes into it has gone into the evolution of these circuits and the cars. It's just insane to me. I'm a huge fan. I've always been, grew up loving it. Walking around my little Ferrari micro machine in my pocket. So, playing my Formula One, Sega games and everything else. So, big fan and can't wait for it.
You invited me to the first one.
I will put you on that list.
Hey, don't forget me, man.
Yeah.
Question number 2. When are we going to see the first Dan NFT, and what is it going to be?
A lot of ideas around there, a lot of planning, want to do it right. I don't know if it's going to be a Dan NFT, but I can forecast a Griffin token of some sort. I've mentioned Griffin a couple times. It's part of the logo. So you'll see it in there. There's a whole history to that. But I can see it happening. And I think it's probably within the next year. Yeah.
Love it. Question number 3. What's the craziest and wildest experience you've ever had as an entrepreneur?
Craziest and wild as an entrepreneur. I founded the company in March of 2012 and opened an office in Miami then. In August of 2012, I opened an office in New York. Started going back and forth to New York, where I had a lot of clients that were, basically going back, very transient between Miami and New York. And then in September of 2012, Superstorm Sandy just crushes the Northeast. The growth I experienced and the demand on me in that small amount of time. Next thing I know, I'm away from home for many, many months. I was just married, no kids at the time though. I hit the ground, full steam ahead, running. I had goals. Clearly, had to quickly rip those up and reevaluate the situation. My clients' needs were coming at us left and right. They were way up here. Hadn't quite seen something like that in an amazing amount of years in that area. So it was such a test that if you think about it, March to August to then, and next thing you know, within 10 months we're profitable. I'm hiring new employees left and right, while trying to balance a South Florida presence with a New York presence, because I always knew that at some point I was going to, my aspiration or desire was to move back to Miami full time. So I had to control the situation in a way and to find someone that could help me manage things at a distance, either in Florida or there, but on the fly. I had to learn all these things, so fast. And it was truly a test. It was definitely one of the craziest moments of my life as an entrepreneur. Getting hit with so much so fast, and managing it. There was 4 exact incidents where I boarded an airplane and then got off because I got a phone call about something else. And literally my bag took off. My wife had to then go to the airport to get my bag in Miami. Now now the regulation is that they won't let the plane leave unless the bag comes off with the passenger. I can only imagine what that would have been like. Yeah, 4 times I sat down in the airplane, put my seatbelt on, headphones on, ready to go do some work on the flight home, and got a phone call, had to get off the airplane and get back to work. Crazy. So it was interesting, living out of a hotel for 4 months when we were originally up there. I mean, I could go on and on about why it was what it was. But if you've ever seen photographs of the Jersey Shore area or Long Island, even downtown Manhattan area, the Lower Manhattan area, you'll know why. And if you look up our business and what we do, you'll understand.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that experience. Question number 4. We got 2 more. I know you don't got one parked out there now. You got that nice decked out Hummer 1, but why the Ferrari? Why is that Dan's go-to car?
Childhood dream. I'm born in the 80s, child of the 90s, and during the 90s you had the Schumacher days, were inspiring, and I had 2 brothers. They were always techno football, baseball, MLB, into those games, and I was I wanted a Formula One Monaco GP for my PlayStation or whatever it was at the time. So I had a infatuation with cars too early on, man. I was my parents have photographs of me with Hot Wheels and Micro Machines, and I still have them actually, thank God. And it was a goal of mine actually early on in as an entrepreneurial career that I set a goal that I would own a Ferrari at one point, and I wanted that to be when I was 30. That was my milestone, and it motivated me. There's a lot of car people out there, shiny, flashy things. It wasn't a shiny, flashy thing for me. It was simply a goal, and I was able to accomplish that goal, and it was a big deal to me. It was a really big deal to me, got to share that moment with my wife, and it drove me then to be even more successful and desire to accomplish and achieve even more than that. So that's the story behind it. Just love the brand, what it stands for, what it is, the achievements they've had, and it's been part of and I believe by making that a goal, it's helped me drive towards success because I wanted to own it. I didn't want it to own me.
Love that. Absolutely love that. And then last and final question, what is the biggest piece of advice that you can leave off to all our listeners today in one single sentence?
Find your balance of patience and persistence, and understand how to distinguish between the two, but how you can use each of those together to achieve your goals, and have goals. I think, try to find a way to write goals that is meaningful for you and to you, and to your team. Make sure your team understands what your goals are too. I have some friends of mine that are entrepreneurs that are not transparent with their goals, and I think they're a bit off balance because they expect so much from their team, but the team doesn't understand the bigger picture because they've never been given an opportunity to participate in either writing them or reading or reviewing them.
Guys, you heard it from Dan himself, that powerful message. And now it's time for you guys to go out there, put this information to work, but most importantly, grab one piece of golden nugget advice you got from here and apply that every single day until you turn it into something successful. Once again, Dan, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on here. And guys, if you got value out of this video, out of this podcast, I would love it if you would drop a rating, drop a review, drop a like, because the more love you show us, the more love we can show back, and we can bring on amazing people just like Dan to come share their value with you. Till next time, guys, on the Sweat It Out podcast.